Hi everyone, my name is Angel Aoyang and I'm a staff writer with Forbes magazine based in San Francisco. So I'm here today to talk about what I think is going to be a big trend within journalism in 2021, and I think it's going to be the continued rise of email newsletters. So when most people think about email newsletters, I think the first newsroom that generally comes to mind is likely Axios. Axios was founded in 2016, and they really pioneered this format and this idea that readers want the news directly delivered to them through their email inboxes. And these newsletters are delivered generally in a very formatted way. So they're punchy, they're in bullet style format, which makes it really easy for the readers to digest quickly, and they've got a clear point of view. And when I say clear point of view, I mean that the writers are oftentimes inserting themselves into the newsletter, really making that reading experience personal, and also the readers are only getting the news that they sign up for. So let's say you're only interested in VC news. The newsletter will only deliver the biggest VC deals of the day and so forth. And the cadence of these newsletters really varies. Sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's a few times a week. But generally, the readers are signing up for exactly the kind of news that they want to receive. So outside of Axios, about a year after that was formed, Substack was founded. Substack is an open platform, and any journalists can sign up to create an account. And once you have a Substack account, that gives the journalists the ability to create their own email newsletters, allowing readers to sign up, and they can pay for that subscription, and they will only get the news that you write, that you deliver. And so in recent years, particularly last year and this year, reporters are now starting to leave legacy newsrooms to create their own email newsletter and going directly to the readers themselves. There's a lot of reasons as to why reporters are willing to leave newsrooms and branch off on their own. One reason is that journalists are now starting to realize that the readers care a lot less about what platform or what newsroom you're working for and more about the writer, meaning that as long as the writer they believe is trustworthy, as long as they've got integrity, and as long as they provide and write the news and the scoops that they want to read about, that's all they care about. It doesn't matter whether you work for the New York Times or the Journal or BuzzFeed or The Verge, wherever. And also with that, every newsroom has its own angle. So the New York Times is generally more liberal, while the Wall Street Journal is more conservative. And in recent years, it's become an issue where the reporters will not have the same beliefs as that newsroom's belief. And so instead of trying to conform to that newsroom's angle, journalists are now breaking off on their own so that they can own their voice and just present the kind of news and the kind of perspective that they want to present to readers. Another reason is money. So with that train of thought, journalists are now willing to experiment with the idea of capitalizing on that loyal following, testing out whether these readers are willing to pay to just hear from them, regardless of what newsroom they're a part of. Casey Newton was a former reporter for The Verge who recently left to start his own Substack, his own email newsletter. And he said, quote, "You might follow a publication, but it's more likely you care about an individual reporter or writer or YouTuber or podcaster. People are increasingly willing to pay to support those people." The jury is still out on whether you can make more money on Substack, in your own email newsletter, or working as a reporter within a legacy newsroom. But there have been some data points that might be outliers, but could give you an idea of what the business could look like. So Ben Smith, who's a media reporter at the New York Times, recently wrote a story about Heather Cox Richardson, and she's one of the most popular Substack newsletters right now. She's actually not a journalist, she's a politics professor, but her newsletter delivers news, and it delivers news in a very unbiased way. That's her whole angle. So her newsletter has about 350,000 subscribers, and every subscriber pays about $5 a month. And by Ben Smith's calculations, Heather's take home for this year was likely around $1 million. And that's a big salary and significantly more than what most journalists can make at legacy newsrooms. And the last reason is this is a new opportunity for journalists to experiment. So, journalism as an industry has generally resisted change and innovation. The mediums that have continued to rule for hundreds of years within journalism is essentially print. Of course, documentaries have become popular in recent decades, and there is TV and there is video. But in the last couple of years, newsrooms have tried to pivot to video. And when I say newsrooms, I mean, the New York Times and the Journal and other legacy newsrooms. They've tried to make their pivots to video, and those experiments have largely failed. So most newsrooms are still trying to figure out, whether there is a new way to deliver the news that isn't just print. But because journalism hasn't really changed or innovated in recent years, that's led to the loss of a lot of jobs. From 2004 to 2019, around half of newspaper jobs have disappeared. And during the pandemic, around 30,000 reporters were furloughed, laid off, or had salary reductions. There's just not a lot of money in journalism. That's the truth of it. And so with these email newsletters, it's essentially a new way for reporters to experiment within an industry that resists change, resists innovation. And I think reporters are welcoming the idea of a new way to reach readers while still making money. So that's what I think is going to be a big trend for journalism in 2021. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new.